When you like Ventura TV Appliance on Facebook, it's nice. But when you love the Samsung big screen we deliver, it's even better. Our website is cool, and it's a good place to start. But you really should touch the merchandise before you buy. Time for that upgrade to an HD 3D web-enabled Samsung TV. Get the best selection, price, and service in town without waiting. Come in to Ventura TV Appliance and touch the merchandise today.
Hi, I'm John Mallows. Welcome to this live edition of Connect with Me on the showroom floor on this Monday morning here on Comcast Channel 187, 43.6 and 13.1. Today, on the air, off the presses, someone is in here for the first time from the Fresno Business Journal. Your phone calls are welcome, 436-ME-TV, option 11. Back in a moment. Back here on the program live on this Monday morning, on the air, off the presses, and today we have a guest in for the first time from the Fresno Business Journal. You might recall earlier this year we had the publisher on along with his daughter, but this is a first-time guest. He's the editor. We'll talk to him about all sorts of things. But first of all, I want to mention that we are on live, Comcast Channel 187, 43.6, as always, my friends. But now, of course, we've added 13.1. That is also Me TV. Then you can watch the replay today between 2 and 3 o'clock on YouTube. That's 13.6. And at 8 o'clock tonight, the replay again. That's right, on Biz TV. That is 13.5. Just a couple of things to talk about before we get into the focus of the program. A terrible weekend for the Bay Area sports teams. Boy, Derek Carr not looking good at all at the Oakland Coliseum as he made his NFL debut there in Oakland. First home game of the year for the Raiders, and they get walloped, boy, by Texas. And then the 49ers committed, 3 or 4 turnovers last night and ended up losing to the Chicago Bears. The Giants lost 2 out of 3 to the Dodgers. They still can't beat Clayton Kershaw for whatever reason. I mean, the Giants just looked awful at the plate yesterday, except for a couple of young guys that came up and got to Kershaw. So anyway, 13 games left in the season. Interesting to see what will go down. In the meantime, a lot going on right here in the Central Valley and in Fresno per se. And I'm talking about business-wise. I know this is an on-the-air, off-the-presses segment, but you know, our guest today is going to talk about the effects of business right here in the Central Valley because there's so many issues going on. I want to roll the videotape, my friends, and show you the Fresno Business Journal, and it's actually called the Business Journal here in Fresno. And Gordon Webster, of course, his family started this thing way back when, decades and decades ago. Gordy is the publisher. His daughter Ashley also works with him. But the paper is roughly 129 years old, if you can believe it. All sorts of awards hanging on the walls inside the Business Journal. The journal's focus is mainly on local business here in, not only in the Fresno area, but the entire Central Valley. And there's a shot of Gordon Webster right there sitting on a plaque, and then you'll see him momentarily sitting at his desk, and his daughter Ashley walks in. In the meantime, today's guest will talk about, you know, he's here to talk about local issues that affect businesses, such as the Fresno Grizzlies and what impact the Fresno, you know, the Chukchansi Park is having on the economy here in the city. Also, the Fulton Mall, we know that they're tearing that out. There's Gordon Webster right there, his daughter Ashley walking in. The water, the drought situation, what kind of an effect is it having on farmers and business as well? That's a major issue. And how about the controller's race between Mayor Ashley Swearingen and Betty Yee? According to the Fresno Bee, that the mayor is somewhere in between 15 and 17 points behind in the polls. And there is our guest right there talking to Gordon Webster. Live in our studio is our guest, Gabriel Dillard. He is the editor of the Business Journal here in Fresno. He's here to touch on some of these issues that affect our city, our county, our community, our Central Valley right here. 436 Me TV option 11. You're watching us live. We're going to be here for the full 60 minutes, of course, as usual now. So you can call in, turn down the sound, ask your question. Just ask until your heart is content, my friends. Back with our program here on a Monday morning in just a moment.
It's Sully and Russ on the Big Biz Show.
It's your biz.
And maybe they'll start listening to Baldwin McCullough.
Now, before you make any money moves, check in with the Brain Trust.
And you are starting your week off right.
Back here on the program, On the Air, Off the Presses, and we want to welcome in for the very first time Gabe Dillard from the Business Journal here in Fresno. I call it the Fresno Business Journal, but it's out of habit. I mean, you guys are here in Fresno, so.
Yeah, we're based here in Fresno, but we covered Tulare, Kings, Madera too, so.
Yeah. Hey, I want to mention before, because Ara mentioned it just now off camera, and that's the Oakhurst fire. Our hearts and prayers and thoughts go out to those who lost their homes up there. It's still going, the fire, and a lot of devastation up there. What can you tell us about it from what you've learned?
Oh, well, not too much. I mean, it seems like every week there's a new fire flaring up out there, and, it's horrible. I mean, we've seen businesses destroyed, residences destroyed. I mean, it's, the drought is not helping anything. I'm sure it's dry out there. So it's tough, we hope that, people land back on their feet.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I think the dry conditions really add to the fire situation, don't you?
Right, yeah, it's, if you haven't had any water out there, things will just kind of go up like that.
Yeah, spark just like that.
Yeah, anything, fire, campfire like we saw with the rim fire, anything could kind of set it off.
Yeah. Hey, let's talk about the drought. As long as we're talking about water, what affects, probably a dumb question, but I'm going to ask you anyway, because last week we had a guest on here. Their family owns a farm out there on the west side. It's been in the family since 1927. They're kind of self-sufficient right now because of the aquifers. They go to groundwater. But had it not been for the groundwater, they'd be out of business too, like a lot of people on the west side. Mm-hmm. What's your take on this water situation and the drought and it's a war between farmers, east side versus west side. Mm-hmm. Nobody's getting their way, it seems.
Right, yeah, it's a tough situation. On the west side, you have a lot of those permanent plantings of almonds and walnuts. Those have been major cash crops, and they're also thirsty, and they need to be watered constantly. So, and they're hitting the aquifer, and as a result, that's, there's a lot of attention on groundwater pumping now, and I think there's some bills up in Sacramento that would require a lot more of the monitoring and the farmers to just kind of be more mindful of what they're doing. So it's tough, and they're not going to get a lot of relief, I think, on the legislative side in Washington. It's a tough situation, and you just hope that we'll get some water soon. The water bill, is coming up, and, voters can go and, put about $2.7 billion towards more storage, but, once that's done, they're going to build Temperance Flat. I don't know how long that would take, but I'm sure
20 years, probably.
Decades.
Yeah. We just saw a drone shot of Millerton Lake and how low the water is there. Now we're taking a look at one of these orchards here, and you're talking about obviously lack of water. Look at that. That's incredible. You can even see it in the video that some of those trees are just dying right there. I'm not sure. Those look like almond trees. Yeah, almond trees. You mentioned the water bond, the initiative coming up in the November ballot. It is about storing water, but how much is that going to help us? I mean, and I heard that, and I don't know if you can verify this, if they do build Temperance Flat, that they're going to use that primarily for environmental purposes and not storage. So what purpose would that serve to build that up there?
Right. You know, I'm sure the growers would say any little bit helps, but you're absolutely right. I mean, that there's still the San Joaquin restoration project ongoing, so there's always going to be water dedicated for the environment going down there. And you know, we hear from some of our representatives. Just the other day I heard David Valadeo speaking, and you know, they just want to they want to make sure that some of those environmental regulations are scaled back a bit, but I don't see the will, you know, in Congress to do that. So, you know, it's a tough situation. I say that a lot, but when it comes to water, it's, you know, and like you mentioned, on the east side as well, there's problems there. I mean, and there's more permanent crops being planted on the east side. So where maybe in the past some of the east siders might not have had as many problems as the west siders, it's, you know, it's kind of shaking up where everybody's feeling the pain.
Yeah, taking a look at Temperance Flat right there, but I don't know if they're going to build a dam there or not. Who knows? But if they do, we know it'll take a lot of money, into the billions, I would assume. And then the project will probably take at least 20 years to complete, wouldn't you say?
I think that's what most people are thinking. You know, it's decades off.
So the question is now, Gabe, what do we do in the meantime?
Oh, that's the
pray for rain
question.
or what? But if we pray for rain and it all goes to the ocean, I mean, see, here's the question I have for you. Where's the balance? Okay, we have to satisfy the environmentalists and what they want to accomplish, and you know that we can talk and debate the small smelt all we want, but where's the balance between, you know, using that water for people and their needs as opposed to fish and the environment? Where's the balance?
That's a tough question. I mean, I think when it comes to people, you know, they could take measures to conserve water. You know, that they've recently restricted watering in Fresno to 2 days a week. And we actually had a poll on our website about that. And I think most people are following the rules, but there's quite a few who might sneak in a third watering. So
I think that's a shot of the smelt right there.
Yeah.
That's what we're trying to save, and that's what's causing all of our problems, or has caused most of the problems here in the last, we're in this drought now 4 years? Is it 3 years or 4 years?
You know, I'm not sure. It probably feels like 4 years.
It's a while.
Yeah,
it's a while. It's a while. And so we need a lot more water, and eventually, you know, I heard somebody the other day say that, you know, they may have to truck water into the Central Valley. I don't even know that that's feasible or possible, is it?
I guess it depends. I mean, they're already having to truck water in for certain communities who are having problems with their supply, and I think that even is an untenable situation. I think there's some money in the water bond for that, but yeah, you know, I think we just have to make do with what we get. And you know, when it comes to being a farmer, you know, I don't know, because you know, they hear all the time, you know, conserve, you need to be more efficient with your water. You know, they tell the farmers that, but you know, I've heard of, you know, they're using their drip tape, they're using technology. I mean,
there's something you don't see too often. Somebody watering their lawn.
Yeah.
You know, hey, let's hit on the politicians right after the break. I got to go to the break here, but we are talking with Gabriel Dillard. He is the editor of the Business Journal right here in the city of Fresno, and you can call in and ask all sorts of questions. We got all types of things to talk about today here on the program. Connect with me. You're watching us on Comcast 187, 43.6, and now, my friends, 13.1 live up until 11 o'clock. Back with more. Hey, we got some open lines. Call in. Back in a moment.
Considering solar? Whether you're ready to buy now or just exploring your options, the consultants at Solar Negotiators are here to help you. A call to Solar Negotiators is like calling 5 solar companies at once. You see, when local established solar contractors have gaps in their schedule, they call Solar Negotiators to fill them. Right now, get 5 years of panel cleaning and maintenance or $1,000 off your new solar panels. So stop wasting your time searching and call Solar Negotiators, because when contractors compete for your business, you win.
We can't get enough of this water situation. We talked about it extensively with one of the farmers here last week on the program, and you know, it's amazing how much money it cost. In talking to them, I was flabbergasted how much it costs just to keep the farm running, how much it costs just to pump the groundwater. I mean, it could cost anywhere from $200,000 to $500,000 just to pump one well.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It is. And you know, you're hearing about a lot of these wells going dry and they're having to dig deeper. And recently, I mean, a while back we did a story about the well drilling companies around here, and they're 24/7 out constantly.
How many are there?
You know, I'm not too sure how many there are. We spoke to a few of them. I'd say, I don't know, maybe a dozen or so, if I had to guess. But you know, they're busy, and you know, if you're wanting to get a well drilled, you're on a waiting list. And
really,
that's, you know, from what I heard, that they're just they and it takes a while. Also, what I heard is that, you know, you can't just kind of drill like as fast as you can. It takes some time to do it right. So, you know,
so a guy doesn't just show up at your place one day and start drilling and boom, there's the water. It takes,
I think it takes a couple days, maybe even a week to do it.
But then you're saying there's a backup, there's a backlog, and
yeah.
And how long's the waiting list?
I think some of them are waiting, you know, several months, and I think we're talking about some of the larger, you know, wells, and maybe not so much the residential ones, because, you know, people need their water. But
well, we focused on the Stephanopoulos farm out there on the west side, right near Mendota there, and this is some of the video from their farm and one of their wells. But I think from what they told me, as I recall, they had up to 18 wells out there. So imagine how much money that's costing them. And now, what are the chances that the state could put regulations on how much groundwater you can actually pump? What will that do? And what are the chances of that happening?
It's looking pretty likely. And we haven't really touched with the farmers too much on what sort of impact that would be. But, you know, these farmers are pretty highly regulated, and they kind of bristle at that, and they just want to farm, and there's just a lot of other things that they need to worry about. So I think the groundwater monitoring is, and, you know, I'm not sure if they're going to cap how much water they use, but if that happens, I mean, that's the only source they have at this point. So I mean, you're going to really see dead trees everywhere. I think, you know, once the groundwater situation becomes, you know, it's important to kind of fix it, I guess, before it gets to that point, but who knows how to do that.
In your estimation, do you think farming in the future here in the Central Valley could be a thing of the past?
Oh, you know,
I've heard people talk about that.
That'd be a scary thing, a scary thought, because, you know, a lot of people talk about diversifying the economy, but, you know, agriculture is just our base, and it's changing. You know, they're not needing as many people, personnel, and so they're hiring less, using more.
Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Hi, I'm not sure if you're still on to the water issue, but I did have a real quick question for him. How has it affected the water issue by them when they knew we were entering into drought seasons and stuff last year and the year before, draining the lakes down to retrofit the dams with that film?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch the last part of your question.
You know, the couple of years, last year and the year before, they drained the lakes to retrofit the dams with film. I was wanting to find out how that may have possibly affected the water situation today.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know too much about that. You know, I think that's something that they do every once in a while for maintenance, but I'm sure it didn't help, because, you know, anytime that those dams aren't operating the way they are, then somebody's not getting their water, and then also power as well. I mean, I'm sure there's hydroelectric power involved, so I don't know, but I mean, people were excited to see the ruins and stuff in the lake bed of all the old buildings, but, you know, otherwise not a good scene.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't want to do that too often, because it can create problems, because obviously we don't know when it's going to rain or how much it's going to rain. And we've been in a drought now for 4 years, so draining a lake or a dam right now is not the best of ideas.
Yeah, Mother Nature's doing a good enough job of draining those
Draining
lakes.
a lake all by itself. Hey, let me ask you about the politicians. You got Devin Nunes, you've got David Valadao, you've got Jim Costa, you got Feinstein and Boxer, of course, two U.S. senators here up in the Bay Area. Who's on it and who isn't? I mean, who's with the situation? Who's on top of the situation? Who's listening? who's in the know, who's taking action. In other words, which bums can we vote out?
Well, you know, we have our GOP representatives, or they're pretty well versed on the situation. They're pretty close to the farmers, so they know what's going on. You know, and even,
how would you rate the politicians in your estimation?
Well, you know,
you guys talk to them, right, at the paper all the time, don't you?
Yeah. How would I rate them? I think every single, whether you're a Republican or Democrat, I think if you're going to be elected here in the Valley, you have to grasp the water situation. So you see, folks like Jim Costa, you're not going to see a lot of difference as far as just what the end is, as far as getting supplies, but the means to it is you're going to see some differences between the Republicans and Democrats.
He's less in favor of storage, is he not, because he's a Democrat?
Well, I can't say exactly what his position is, but I've never heard him, like, when it comes to temperance flat, I don't think he's opposed to that. I've never heard him
to storage?
Yeah, but I don't...
You're not sure?
I don't think you're going to see a lot of storage getting built just moving forward. They're tearing out dams up in the Northwest. So environmentally, I know temperance was in the works for a while, but I'm not sure how much more storage you're going to see.
But the Northwest, Gabe, gets a lot more rain than we do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it rains there all the time.
Yeah.
And if we don't talk about storage and start doing something about it, it may come back to bite us one day.
Mm-hmm. Right. There's a lot of issues. People talk about climate change. I've heard some of the water management people talk about, depending on whether you believe it's happening, if it's getting hotter, then the snow melt it's going to melt a lot quicker. So that's talk about storage. If our the snow cap's going to melt a lot quicker, you're going to want that water you're going to want to be able to store it somehow. So, that might be an argument in favor of more storage, but who knows? I don't see any major dam projects being built after temperance.
You just can't have it both ways, though. Would you agree? I mean, you can't complain on the one hand that we don't have enough water and yet don't talk about storage.
Yeah, well, I personally think that the Delta is the big issue. The water is up north; it's there, and they're going through drought as well. But you got to be able to find a way to get that water down here. So that's the sticking point. It's that's when you're talking about the smelt and stuff. That's where
that's where it gets dicey, huh?
Yeah. So Jerry Brown has the twin tunnels, and that's a solution.
Okay. Good morning, caller. Well, you were there. 436 MeTV option 11. Got to be a little patient. We do have an open phone line. Gabe Dillard is here from the Business Journal right here in the city of Fresno, and he is here to talk about more than just water. A lot of stuff going on, a lot on the plate today here on Connect with Me. Back in a moment.
The first pulsator agitator washer. And now we introduce the Frigidaire Orbit Clean Dishwasher, designed with a unique wash arm that gives you 4 times more water coverage for a consistently better clean. Frigidaire, over 90 years of legendary innovation.
See the full line of Frigidaire appliances at Ventura TV Electronics and Appliances.
Back here on the program, we have an open phone line, 436 MeTV option 11, talking with Gabriel Dillard. He is the editor of the Business Journal here in the city of Fresno. And, I mentioned in the monologue, the focus of your paper is local business. Let me ask you about, how do you focus on local business? What are the procedures in place? How do you go out and find businesses to focus on? And what types of businesses do you look for?
Any types of business. And I think a lot of what we try to do is provide information for business owners locally.
What kind of information?
We try to do about legislation is one thing. Anything going on in Sacramento or Washington, D.C. that's going to impact business owners, and there's no shortage of that. So we try to keep on top of that. we try to identify trends in local industries. What story we did recently was about the explosion of the e-cigarettes, vaping. That's kind of a big thing that we wrote about, and there's a lot of new shops opening up, e-cigarette shops. So that's one example of
taking a look at your publisher right there, Gordon Webster, and his daughter Ashley. They kind of run the place, but go ahead, continue with the e-cigarettes.
Oh, well, yeah, that's just an example of a trend. There's been dozens of these shops that have opened in the Fresno area in the last couple of years, so that's a big explosion. And that
e-cigarettes are popular?
Oh, they're very popular. Yeah. You see, I'm not sure if you've ever been out to a restaurant and seen people puffing on these things, but that's another thing. Restaurants are kind of having to decide whether or not they're going to ban them. So that's another kind of end of the story that we covered. But that's a trend that we identified. We just did a story on. Despite the fact that we're in a drought, pool construction in the Fresno area is up like 5 years, like a 5-year high currently.
You're kidding?
Yeah, it's
built-in pools.
Built-in pools. Yeah, they're building more.
Construction is up.
Yeah, they're building more than they have in the last 5 years.
In spite of the drought.
In spite of the drought, yeah, and we did the story because there are some cities down in Southern California that are actually banning new pool construction. So that's not going to happen here. And I think the fact that home prices are going up and the real estate market is kind of improving for homeowners, that might be another trend running parallel that's driving that.
Yeah, I mean, imagine if you have a pool that has 30,000 gallons of water, how long it takes to fill that up.
Right. And the pool builders argue that it takes less water to maintain, keep a green lawn than it does to fill up a pool.
How's that? Do you agree with that?
I guess
have the stats on
I
that,
have
do
to
you?
see the science on that, but
yeah.
It takes a lot of water to maintain a lawn. So who knows how long does it take? I'm sure eventually it'll take as much.
How
water
many?
as a
So if
pool.
you turn your sprinklers on, the question I have is, if you turn them on for 10 minutes or 15 minutes, how many gallons are you using?
Yeah, that's a good
question. As
question.
opposed to putting a pool in, I don't know.
I don't either.
There's a story for you. Gotta look into that.
Yeah, but that's what the pool builders are telling them, and and also
they're telling them that because they want. they. I mean, it's business for them.
Right. So that's just another issue, another trend that we identified. But we try to cover new businesses that are opening that are unique, or businesses that are closing. Been a lot more businesses opening than closing lately, which is a good thing.
Really?
Yeah.
More business opening than closing here.
Well, I've been at the Business Journal for 8 years now, so I actually went through the whole bust of everything back in '06. So you saw some major businesses close back then. Gottschalk's and all that. So it's now things seem to be getting better, and there seems to be a lot more entrepreneurism out there. People.
Now, what kind of businesses do you see opening?
Well, like e-cigarette shops is one.
Yeah,
thing.
that's one.
Yeah.
That's one.
Seeing like downtown, a lot of technology companies are starting. Bitwise Industries is kind of a big driver of that. It's sort of a incubator for folks who want to do like mobile applications or stuff like that. And so then there's other, so tech is one area where there's a lot of growth. And, talking about diversifying the economy, that's where you want to go, I think. And there's a lot of water technology as well. There's companies coming in, and Fresno State's a big center for water technology. So, there's a lot of growth and just, new supermarkets. It's just things are looking up.
Let me ask you, since we're on the topic of business, because they just recently, not too long ago, well, let's take the call first, then I'll ask the question. Good morning, caller. What's your question? Caller?
Yeah, there's been some talk about, there's been some talk in the past about a shift in the valley. Yes, we were once the fruit basket of the world, or at least of the country, and we produced the vegetables 60% and like 2% of the farm area, and the ground is fertile, and these fields are being closed, being plowed over, being paved over, and houses being built over them. So is it unreasonable to say that maybe we're looking at not only a climatic shift, but also an economic, and besides being an economic shift, a shift from an ag-based economy into an economy maybe that's perhaps tech-based, other industries that aren't heavy water users, because if we're going to become a desert again, it seems unreasonable to continue to build houses and continue to plant farms and trees that are going to require water that apparently we're not going to have, at least not in the short term. So is it unreasonable to say that maybe besides a climatic shift, we're also experiencing a shift in what's going to be paying the bills for the working people in the valley?
Right. Yeah. You know, I think you're seeing that. It's when the economy, I think, is always going to be based on ag here. I think that's always going to be the main dog, in town, and it's just because we have the history. But you've seen trends coming that might shrink that a little bit. I mean, next year's crop report's not going to be as healthy as last year's, and so. Yeah. But I think in the short term, if farming is going to go away, then you're not going to have as many people be able to buy houses. So it's, you've seen other industries kind of gaining steam. Manufacturing is one, but I think if ag is going to kind of take a nosedive, I think we're in real trouble, because I don't see any other industry kind of coming to the rescue there. In the valley, when you talk about education level and just demographics, we're not Silicon Valley, so it's. But
ag is dying here, right before our very eyes.
It's still a $7 billion industry, in Fresno and in Tulare. Tulare just bypassed Fresno, so it's dying, but. I think that
it's
farmers.
It's not what it used to be.
Right. It's not what it used to be, but what is?
Yeah. Gabriel Dillard is here, the editor of the Business Journal here in the city of Fresno. A lot more to get to here. 436 MeTV option 11. Back in a moment.
Find Untamed Sports on over-the-air channel 13.8.
Back here on the program, Connect with Me on MeTV Fresno, and Gabe Dillard is here, and let me get to the business of the Fulton Mall. We all know that we got the federal funds. What is it, 18, 19 billion?
I don't think it's in the B.
Million?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
It's 18 or 19 million, not billion.
So, yeah.
Okay, so to tear out Fulton Mall, reopen it. Okay, how's that going to help business in downtown Fresno? I'm not sure that it is, but I want somebody to convince me that this is the right move.
Right. Well, since it's been clear that they're going to do it, the city and the downtown folks will point at new businesses coming into the Fulton Mall. There's more interest, apparently. A lot of people really believe that the ability for somebody to drive into the mall and park right in front of their store is going to, help things. So I think if the perception is there that it's going to help, then they're seeing some, more activity, but people would argue that the Fulton Mall's always had, activity, and so you wonder what the shift is going to be.
Look at this rare footage here. We've seen this many times, taken back in the 60s, 16 millimeter color film of the Fulton Mall actually being built in its current state today, and so now all the hard work that went into it, as you see here, they're going to tear it all out.
Right, people would argue that was a bad idea to begin with. There's a lot of people out there that, pedestrian malls might have been hot back in the 60s or the 70s, but that, there aren't too many successful ones now. There was a lot of factors, just the city council made a lot of decisions in the past to send more business up north, and that didn't help, the Fulton Mall either. I think it's just a lot of bad decisions led to where we are now, and fixing the problem it might be more than just paving it.
Will it help businesses by tearing that mall out and opening it up to cars? In your estimation?
Yeah,
best guesstimate?
That's a good question.
Or is that the big mystery?
Yeah, that's the mystery. I look at Kern Street downtown, which is another street that's right there by the convention center. A lot of people don't, but it's a beautiful street, and there's a lot of they used to have like farmers markets and stuff on it, and they decorated it at night. So it's a beautiful street, and but you still have vacancies in some of the shops there. So that's an example of a street in downtown that you could drive it, but people aren't really going as much as some of those businesses would want. So I don't know. You have to wonder. I walk the Fulton Mall almost daily. My office is right off of it. So I see commerce. I see people shopping and people doing stuff there and. I don't know. I think if the business owners think it's going to help, then maybe it will.
Is it just they're taking a chance? They really don't know if it's going to help business? It's one of those deals where, well, okay, let's tear it out and open up the street and then see what happens?
Well, I think the success would be having Fulton Mall be like a kind of a nightlife sort of center.
How do you do that if cars are driving by and there's no?
That's true. That's true.
I don't know.
I guess it's how do you define success? I think you could put that street in, and who knows if it helps or not. I mean, unless the business owners are reporting their sales every week and you see a noticeable uptick. I don't know. And I mean, a lot of those business owners might not be there anymore. The rents might go up. There's a lot of factors that play into it. So,
You're saying that once they redo the Fulton Mall, that perhaps some of those businesses will go under, or move, or
I think
some changes might take place.
I think that's
there.
a possibility because a lot of businesses have been there for a long time. And you saw Luftenberg's was a good example. That just recently shut down. And,
it's right by the stadium.
Yeah, right by the stadium, and I'm not sure if they have anybody else set to go in there.
Why did they shut down?
I'm not too sure. We didn't really report on that. I think I read about that in the Bee. You have to imagine it was just. I don't know. It was,
bad location.
Yeah. I think that's
there
part
we
of
see
it.
the baseball stadium right there, Chancey Park. We'll get to that in a minute. But Luftenberg's, of course, out in the beyond the left field bleachers, of course, or left field fence at Chancey Park. You can kind of see the building right there, off in the corner. But had been there for many years and just closed its doors. I can't remember when I saw it in the paper, a while back.
Yeah.
So. Another one bites the dust, I guess.
Right.
And I don't know if that's any indication of what's going on downtown.
I don't, because not much has changed in the interim. I mean, until I think the end of this year when they're planning on breaking ground. I mean, it's been the same street, or not non-street pedestrian mall.
Yeah. So as long as we're looking at Chancey, we might as well talk about it a little bit and the Grizzlies. So Chris Cummings was here on this program about a month ago. We had Ken Stites, the former city councilman, here not too long ago, talking about the Grizzlies. Stites, as a matter of fact, he voted in favor of the stadium, or voted against it. He was against the stadium, I'm sorry, stand corrected. He was one of the few councilmen against it. It did go through. Sal Quintero was the key swing vote on that stadium back in 2001, I believe. So now they're talking about, okay, the team is up for sale. Maybe they'll move, maybe they won't. They have a contract that runs through 2025, I believe. The stadium is draining the city finances more than we can even imagine. And they cut the rent in half. It's only it's half of $1.5 million now. What do you make of this whole financial Grizzlies, Chancey mess is what I like to call it.
Yeah, and it seems like it's been ongoing. It seems like it's coming to a head now, but it's been that way for a while. I'm not sure if they've ever had a profitable year with the Grizzlies. The rent.
Was it a mistake to begin with?
To build the stadium?
Yeah, to have that largest stadium for a baseball team, a minor league baseball team.
Yeah.
You need 12,000 for
It's
it.
a beautiful stadium, but you know.
It is, but if you don't get the bodies in there.
Right. And you know, the fact that people see it as a drain, I think it probably was a mistake. I mean, maybe there was something a little more modest we could have built. I mean, I'm a baseball fan. I personally like having it there. I like going to Grizzlies games, but you know, it's just not paying the bills. So, yeah, I don't know. You mean if they sell it, maybe if they sell it to somebody who's well capitalized, maybe they could do something with it. Who knows?
But George Hofstadter from the Fresno Bee was here. He's a regular on this program, and even he was saying if you get a new investor in here, somebody that buys a team, he might say, look, the rent now is what, $750,000 a year. I'll come in and buy the team, bail you guys out, but I want you to cut that down to $250,000.
Right.
So now, who's on the hook for that other money? Would it be the city? Would it be the taxpayers?
It would be the taxpayers. Yeah, I mean, because I think any new investor would have the leverage to do that, because the alternative is an empty stadium, and I think that's kind of a nightmare scenario for the city, because you know, as much as the Grizzlies are behind on their rent, they're still paying. You know, and if you don't have somebody paying the rent there,
and the bond's got to be paid off.
Yeah, that note's got to be fulfilled. So
yeah.
You know.
By the way, that video there is not Chancey Park. I can tell you that right now. It is the Grizzlies, though. They are playing, but it looks like a road game to me.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it's all right. Not a problem. But nonetheless, do you see anybody willing at this point to come in and purchase that team? And I mean, with all the financial headache, I mean, who? So if you've got money, who is going to come in? If you had, let me put it this way: if you had the money, would you buy them?
Man, I don't know.
See?
Honestly, I don't know. I'd have.
Who's going to put their money where their mouth is with this? It's a losing proposition, like you said.
Yeah.
Let's take a call here. Good morning. You're on the air. Go ahead. Caller.
Hello?
Yeah, you're on the air. Go ahead.
All right, thank you. I was just kind of like, since you guys were talking about the Fresno Bee, and I was thinking about the Fresno Business Journal, and as a business owner in the past, I was just thinking that and I evaluated your online presence, and I was thinking that it wouldn't be hard for the Business Journal to surpass the Fresno Bee and readership online, considering, you know, how the Fresno Bee, you know, reports news related to our community. And so I was just inputting this, and I don't want to create a rift between you two, but I've always honored the Fresno Business Journal and all the years of history, and I think that's something that you two should talk about.
Okay.
Right. Well, you know, we're kind
you
of.
You guys are not in competition with the Bee. It's not a competition. You guys are a different publication.
Well, yeah. You know, I think when it comes to competition, I mean, we're probably going after the same ad dollar. So I would say we're competitors, but
in that respect, maybe.
Yeah, but when it comes to, you know, one thing is our mission is a little bit different. We just do business news, and you know, the Bee has a business section only. We cover business. Business to business is more kind of our thing, where maybe the Bee will do stories, their business stories from a business to consumer slant. We'll do the business to business thing. So that's why our audience is mostly business owners. And, you know, we actually just looked at some of the demographics of our audience. Kind of interesting. I don't have those numbers in front of me, but it's predominantly male. You know, most of our readers are, you know, have like PhDs or higher ed degrees. So it's different. But, yeah, our audience is, you know, nowhere near the Fresno Bees. I mean, I know that for certain.
It isn't, but you cater to a different audience, although you're going for the same ad dollars, and your content is drastically different.
It is. I mean, it's different. You know, a lot of the Business Journal is, we have a lead section, which is just a bunch of public documents that we record every week, and we put it out there for business owners to have some leads to go off of. So it's a different mission, you know. And we've been around for more than 129 years, about 129 years. We've been here for a while, and you know, we have our niche, I think, and you know, I think there's enough room for the Bee and the Business Journal, and you know, in these days in media, anybody could start a website and be a blogger and be, you know, do what we do. I mean, it's possible.
Yeah.
So it's
okay, talking with Gabriel Dillard, the editor of the Business Journal here in the city of Fresno. 436-ME-TV, option 11. We're back in just a moment.
Considering solar? Whether you're ready to buy now or just exploring your options, the consultants at Solar Negotiators are here to help you. A call to Solar Negotiators is like calling 5 solar companies at once. You see, when local established solar contractors have gaps in their schedule, they call Solar Negotiators to fill them. Right now, get 5 years of panel cleaning and maintenance or $1,000 off your new solar panels. So stop wasting your time searching and call Solar Negotiators, because when contractors compete for your business, you win.
Fun here on the program today. Good job, Gabriel. First time appearance here on the program, talking about a lot of issues and tough issues. Getting back to the bee just for a second, and you know, we've had numerous people from the bee come on this program, most notably George Hostetter, who is just a terrific guy. He's a terrific writer. Been there a long, long time. He knows more about City Hall than anybody in the entire area, I would say.
30 years, I think, of experience.
Yeah, he knows where all the dead bodies are buried.
Yes.
And knows who buried them. And but the bee, it's tragic to see all the layoffs that have happened over there, and how the bees, to a certain extent, has dwindled in size, even on a Sunday.
Right. Yeah, you know.
Is that kind of a disturbing trend, do you think? Is it partially because of the internet, or
you know,
what?
I'd say, you know, the internet is a big thing with it. You know, the bee's corporately owned. That's McClatchy. They own a bunch of other newspapers, so
they own the Modesto Bee,
right.
The Sacramento Bee. I forget what others now, but
so you know, when you're talking about corporate ownership, I mean, newspaper chains have just taken a major hit. The readership is down.
Why?
You know, you have a aging readership. You know, the people who subscribe to newspapers are growing older, and people who are a little younger aren't reading newspapers. And you want to.
Does that go for the big ones too, like the L.A. Times, New York Times, Wall Street Journal?
You know, I think that's just the trend in general in the newspaper industry. You know, you're having to be a lot more nimble. You're having to kind of put a lot of your focus online, which is great, but online advertising doesn't pay as much as print. So there's the rub.
Yeah. Caller, go ahead. You're on the air.
Yeah, I just want to call and say what a beautiful stadium we have here in Fresno. When I first saw it, it really blew my mind. You know, I thought, wow, what a beautiful stadium. And the Grizzlies ain't going nowhere. They should stay here all the time.
Well, I'm sure a lot of people feel that way, but unfortunately...
Yes, I remember when it was over there by City College, the Grizzlies, but what a beautiful stadium.
Yeah.
They belong here. They should stay here.
Okay. Thank you for the call. I appreciate it. Right. Yeah, have a great day. Thank you for the call. Certainly, there are a lot of people that feel like our caller do. They want the stadium. They want the team to stay here.
Mm-hmm.
It is a beautiful stadium, but it is draining on the city.
Mm-hmm.
And so what to do about it, I mean, I don't know. It's a difficult solution.
Yeah, and you know, you have to look towards the folks at Chuck Chansey. I mean, the tribe. I mean, I think they're a big part of this as well, keeping the team afloat with their sponsorship. I mean, it.
But even they may have, I don't know what their financial situation is. We know there's almost like a civil war going on within the tribe, so who knows what their financial deal is too.
Exactly.
We don't really know.
Exactly. Yeah, there's a lot of issues there as well. But what I heard, they're paying it, so
yeah,
and that's keeping them afloat.
Yeah. Hey, we have some video of your printing press, just real quick. So where do you print the Business Journal? There is the printing press right there. Where's that printed?
We are printed at Willems Printing, which is, I believe, based in Fowler. It's an independent print house. They've been around, I think, maybe 5 or 6 years. They've printed us for a while now.
They were on the program here.
Oh yeah, they're you know, it's a family-owned business. That's another industry that's taken a hit, is the printing industry.
Mm-hmm.
You've seen local printers close, so They do a great job. They do other publications. They even help foot the bill to print the FCC Rampage newspaper. They used to help pay for part of that with my boss.
Fresno City College.
Yeah, they're So it's great. And I used to work at a printing house doing graphic design. So I really love the hum of the printer, and you really can't get that experience anywhere else.
Yeah. We've talked about quite a few issues here today on the table. I want to get to a couple of more before we close out the program today, but very costly to print a paper as well. I mean, yours is much smaller than the Fresno Bee, and it comes out, what, once a week?
Yeah, once a week.
Once a week, the Business Journal. And say a subscription cost how much?
I think you're looking anywhere between like $69, $79 for a 1-year subscription. There's some deals out there right now. You can get a digital edition of our paper for a little bit of a discount. So,
very reasonable.
Yeah, we wanted to get the paper to you the way you need it. So whether it's mobile or in your hand or whatever.
You don't have to be a business owner to get the Business Journal. Anybody can get it and keep up with what's going on in the city of Fresno. And it's current. And so let's move on to another topic. I want to talk about Mayor Ashley Swearingen. She's in this political fight now, race, which doesn't appear to be much of a race right now. She's fighting Betty Yee for that spot, the state controller. But according to the Bee, she's 15, 17 points behind in the polls, and November is around the corner. What's that poll tell you?
Well, I don't know.
I'm sure you saw the story.
I don't know if anybody's too surprised. I mean, it's tough to be running for the GOP in California. She did pretty well in the primary, but I think you're probably going to see a different voter, group coming in for the November. I think she has her work cut out for her. But anybody who's met her or dealt with her knows she's a really sharp person, and I think the GOP really see a lot in her state. So,
well, here's the thing, and I want your take on this. And I don't know how much information you can give me, but I know the mayor's been criticized for Measure G, then trying to up the water rate. She lost that fight as well. There's the battle on Measure G. There are other issues in the city of Fresno that have come across her desk, like the water issue. They had a water rally at City Hall, which she did not even attend. It was right outside her door. So she's been heavily criticized. So how do you analyze all the information that's coming in your estimation? How is she doing as the CEO of this city? And then all the criticism that has come down on her, how do you weigh that in? What kind of a job would you give her? What kind of a rating would you give her? Is she doing better than her predecessor?
I think she's doing a good job. I mean, when it comes to the financial situation, she's done a lot for the city. So
I want to delve into that in a moment. Good morning, caller. Go ahead. You're on the air.
Yeah, this is directed to Gabriel for information that with the mayor actually just going after the other seat in the state. She didn't have the backing from a lot of people because she actually wasn't known, around the state, and a lot of money takes care of that. But the thing is that here in Fresno, a lot of them have lost interest in her because of that problem, especially when it comes against the unions. Unions are strong here in Fresno, especially in Fresno. And she has a bad rapport as far as, what she was trying to do and this and that, save money. But no, you talk about the firemen and whatever, and big unions, garbage and all that. She really had lost a lot of her backings and all that. And of course, she wasn't known throughout the state like here in Fresno. But she would have a hard time again being a mayor, even though she has back in here locally, but it's a shame that she concentrated too much on the other issue, because a lot of people have lost interest in her. But I just want to tell Gabriel, it's better to have a small company as far as newspaper. Fresno Bee used to be the biggest thing around, and I used to get it here in locally here in, where I live.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're not working a lot anyway. But the mayor has had a lot of problems. I think the image she propels is that she wants to go to a higher position and do higher things. So as far as the mayor's concerned, she's going to have a hard time next time around.
Okay. Hey, I appreciate the phone call. Good comments. Very observant and very, very much to the point as far as the mayor is concerned. We'll give you a chance to answer that after the break. Here, talking with Gabriel Dillard, the Business Journal here in Fresno. Back in just a moment.
Tune in to Heartland for the best in true country music. Relive vintage specials, one-of-a-kind concerts, and country music's earliest videos. Heartland is the heart of country, the only place where you can find country music, country stars, and country lifestyles 24/7. Heartland, the heart of country.
Now on channel 13.2.
All right, back here with Gabriel Dillard, and so the callers, comments about the mayor and not, almost looking to shortchange like the fire department, the firemen. The police contract is coming up, I believe, next year. A year or a year and a half ago, we were in this funk. We were on the verge of bankruptcy. There was an urgent news conference held by the mayor. What was that, a year and a half or 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Now, apparently, we're floating in money. And Measure G failed, and the water rates are being rolled back. Mm-hmm. So how much trouble could we really have been in at that time? Was it a smoke screen to get more money, or what?
Oh, geez, I don't know. I mean, that would be a pretty cynical view of it. But I like to be optimistic.
And then Doug Begum, you enter Doug Begum into the picture. I mean, wow, he came out of nowhere and just.
Yeah, Mayor Swearingen took some licks. And,
she took some hits.
She did, and now. She is where
she's doing a good job or a bad job or mediocre, or where do you put her, in the middle or someplace? Or
I don't know. As much as my opinion matters, I think she's doing a good job, but
with the hand that's dealt to her.
Yes, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
We'll leave it at that. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to give the mayor a benefit of the doubt about going for statewide office, going for the controller, thinking that she's going to give back now to the Valley if she makes statewide office. However, I'm not so confident that she has our best interests in mind when she lists herself as mayor, simply mayor. And of what city? No dimensions on the ballot.
Yeah, she
does your guest have a comment about that?
Okay, thanks, caller. Almost out of time here. Just a couple of minutes left. Go ahead.
Yeah, she's not endearing herself to people in Fresno by doing that, but
that kind of surprised me.
Yeah, and it's hard to believe that having Fresno mayor on your resume.
What did she put on there? Like mayor,
I think it was
CEO?
mayor/CEO. No mention of Fresno at all.
Yeah, that's kind of almost a slap in the face, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's politics, I guess, and people.
You do what you got to do to win, right?
Yeah, and hurt feelings, be damned, I guess. But I'm not losing sleep over it.
No, I'm not losing sleep over it either. But then, look, every mayor that's been in there, when Patterson was in there, he was criticized. Autry was in there, he was criticized for going to the gym every day and not even being at work. So you have a mayor who's hard at work here on some things, trying to get things straightened out, and she's criticized for a lot of different things. So I'm thinking to myself, well, no matter who gets in there, I guess somebody's going to come down on them at some point.
Yeah,
it's not an easy job.
It's not. I mean, strong mayor form of government. There's a lot to being the mayor.
Yeah. I mean, look at it this way: could you or I do a better job? Probably not.
I don't. Yeah, I don't have that skill set.
Yeah, I mean, I don't either. But I wouldn't. I'd have to have many advisors. We have another call coming in. Do we have time? No, we don't have time. We're out of time. Are we out of time? Almost out of time. Okay, you're going to come back and talk about the, quickly, got about a minute left. What are you going to talk about? The business awards?
We're doing the Best of Central Valley Business Reader's Choice Awards. If you go to our website, thebusinessjournal.com, click on the gold button at the right and vote for your 25 categories. You vote for your favorite business in each of the categories. Best happy hour, best restaurant to do business in. You write in your votes, and in December we're going to award the winners.
Okay, when is the deadline for that?
The voting lasts through the end of October, so you still got some time.
So you can come back before then and talk about that.
I'd love to.
We'll talk about that. Maybe you can bring somebody with you from the paper. Tell everybody over there we said hi, Gordy and Ashley and all the rest of the gang over there. Look forward to having you back. You did a great job.
Thank you, John.
All right. Gabriel Dillard of the Business Journal right here in the city of Fresno. Pick it up if you haven't seen the paper. It's an outstanding paper. And we're going to be back with another edition of Connect with Me. Tomorrow it's Becky Cinema. We're going to be talking about the movies. See you then. Have a great day.
Do you like me?
Just like me.
Like Me TV Fresno on Facebook. Get the latest news, interact with others, watch videos, become a fan of me. Exclusively brought to you by Ventura TV.